If things continue as is, the press for the upcoming HBO Harry Potter show is going to be an absolute crap show. The latest evidence of this is actor Nick Frost coming out in support of body mutilation and sharing that it should be talked about more rather than less. And one critic is calling for him to be fired, and I agree with her. Roll this up over at fandompulse.com. You can find the link in the description below. So in an interview with The Observer, Frost shared his excitement about playing Hagrid as well as Belch in the How to Train Your Dragon film. Frost was announced to be playing Ruby as Hagrid back in April when they made their first casting announcement. And this is what he said to The Observer. He says, both projects are in genres that I have loved my whole life. In terms of fantasy and wizards and witchcraft, especially Harry Potter, it's like I'm effing Hagrid. Later in the interview, Frost made it clear he does not agree with J.K. Rowling in her views on gender ideology. This is what he said. She's allowed her opinion and I'm allowed mine. They just don't align in any way, shape, or form. He went on to note that he doesn't know if the issue will overshadow the series and shared that he does not believe it should be ignored. He said, but maybe it shouldn't blow over. We shouldn't just hope it will go away because it makes it easier. Maybe we should educate ourselves. With the implication there that he is going to be doing the educating while he does press, while he's talking to these outlets for the Harry Potter show, for the things that he is doing. Clearly, he's doing press here for The Observer, and he's talking about this issue and making it clear that he does not agree with J.K. Rowling and that it should be talked about even more. So he is clearly pushing this ideology already just while doing press on How to Train Your Dragon. So he's going to be doing it for the Harry Potter show as well. And obviously he's not getting super into it, but he's clearly still pushing it, making it clear he doesn't agree with J.K. Rowling. He clearly doesn't believe in reality, and he's going to be attacking that reality to push this evil, sick agenda. As for Rowling's views, I've talked about this a number of times. I think she's actually changed her views. I don't think she's specifically kind of written it out, but it seems based on some of the things she has posted, she has clearly changed her views over the last 5 years. I think back in 2020, she was still on board with people actually going and transitioning, especially if they're adults. That doesn't seem to be the case anymore. She seems to recognize that men cannot become women and women cannot become men, although I still think most of her focus is kind of still on kind of the feminist aspect, or she's motivated by the feminist aspect that you shouldn't have men who are pretending to be women competing in women's sports. You shouldn't have men pretending to be women being put in women prisons. You shouldn't have men pretending to be women going into women's bathrooms, etc., because it leads to all kinds of evil stuff. And they shouldn't, and I agree with her. They shouldn't be doing that, but I look at this from the aspect that it's impossible for a man to become a woman altogether, and it should be absolutely quashed. We should not even be allowing this type of discussion to be happening because it is so absolutely evil and poisonous. But she kind of made it clear what her ideas were just a couple days ago. She's responding to this guy here. Says, haven't you got more important things to worry about? And she says, then freedom of speech and belief, then the rights of women and girls to privacy, dignity, and safety, then irreversible procedures performed on vulnerable minors. So she obviously is pointing out minors. I think it shouldn't, even adults shouldn't be doing it, right? Because it's just absolutely heinous what happens. People should not be allowed to butcher themselves. Absolutely not. Especially when they're being fed this sick, evil ideology that is an attack on reality. And in many cases, they don't really know what they're actually doing or getting into, and they should not be allowed to do that because it is wrong. Anyway, she goes on and says, then elites and institutions trying to impose a quasi-religious ideology on the rest of society. No. So obviously you get an idea of what she stands for. And I think it's pretty clear that if Frost doesn't actually believe in it, he does indeed approve of mutilating children, approve of adults mutilating themselves. He basically buys into all of the ideology's evil that it pushes and promotes and tries to get people to buy into. Ironically, The Observer's Tim Lewis claimed Frost turned off the comments on his Instagram post announcing his role as Hagrid, which I did include. It's right here. This is where he announced he was playing Hagrid. He actually turned the comments off, and Lewis says that he turned the comments off because he received criticism from trans rights supporters, the people he actually seemingly agrees with that don't want him to be playing in this role because it I guess benefits J.K. Rowling, and they don't like the fact that she opposes them politically and ideologically. So I just find that ironic, right? Furthermore, as pop culture critic Mary Morgan pointed out on the Pop Culture Crisis YouTube channel, Frost is indicating he will use his role as Hagrid to push gender ideology in his media appearances. This is what she said. So his point is, yes, I'm excited about the series, but I'm also all too excited to jump into gender discourse, and I don't think that we should ignore. I think we should pay more attention to this discourse, and if it overshadows the Harry Potter series as a whole, I don't have a problem with that. That's what he was saying, and I think her reading on that is accurate. That is exactly what he was saying, and for all intents and purposes. She then called for him to be fired. She said, and I think just for that comment alone, you should just be fired. She explained you shouldn't be given the slap on the wrist. You shouldn't be given the leeway at this stage in the game. Knowing how big of an opportunity this is, shut up and be grateful. Stop causing problems. So she obviously appeals to this fact that Frost would be damaging the promotion of the series, less viewers, etc., by pushing this stuff because people are going to tune out from it. And I think there is plenty of evidence to show that that is indeed the case. One need only look at shows like The Wheel of Time. One need only look at shows like The Rings of Power. When you are pushing these woke ideologies, people do indeed tune out. Look at all of the Marvel MCU films that have been coming out lately. Box office declines. It has not been good. People are not watching this stuff. When it is in there, they tune out. Now, that's not to say you won't see some good returns early on in the short term, because obviously there is interest in a lot of these shows and IPs because they are popular IPs. Rings of Power, I think, is the perfect example. I think it did like 1.9 billion minutes watched when it first premiered on Prime Video, but we saw that only 63%, 67%, something like that, did not finish the first season in the United States. Noped out because of how terrible it was with the ideology that it was pushing. And so she's right. She's absolutely right that he should be fired for this. He should not be given a platform to promote this gender ideology over the show. And that's exactly what he says he's going to be doing. He's going to be using his press opportunities with the show to promote this stuff. And that is indeed damaging to the show. So that is the argument that she goes on. I think that he should just be completely fired because he's promoting the ideology, regardless of whether it damages the show or not, because that ideology is so heinous and evil. And this is what Dr. Edward Fazer has argued about the promotion of gender ideology and wokeness. He said it should be treated the same way we treat Nazism, segregationism, and other ideas that are inherently destructive of basic social cohesion, as something to be purged altogether from school curricula, government, and other institutions, as well as from respectable discourse. The state, therefore, not only should not favor it, but should not even be neutral about it. Rather, governments ought to actively work to extirpate wokeness from any and all institutions over which they have any power or influence. It's not hard to see that corporations should be doing the same, and thus actors like Nick Frost promoting this objective evil should indeed be censored at the very least. He should not be allowed to be talking about this stuff when he is doing promotion for the show. HBO should say, don't talk about that, and then obviously instruct journalists not to ask questions about it. And then even if they do ask questions about it, they should be instructed by their media trainers to avoid questions like that. Maybe take some advice from Tom Felton and his recent comments that he made on the red carpet, was it during the Tony Awards, where he was talking about how he doesn't really pay attention to it, and he is thankful for the opportunity to play Draco Malfoy, and how Potter has brought so many people together rather than been a cause for division. I think that is something that a lot of these actors should follow. And Nick Frost definitely could take some advice from Tom Felton on that front. But at this point, I agree with Mary. He should indeed be fired because he's going to use this show as a vehicle to promote gender ideology, and he's made it abundantly clear that is exactly what he's going to do in this interview with The Observer. And if they don't fire him, they don't censor him, etc., I think it's very clear that HBO is totally fine with using the show to promote that stuff, to undermine what J.K. Rowling is trying to do with her activism. And that's just absolutely unacceptable. If I'm J.K. Rowling, I would totally be getting involved to try to put a stop to that. I know she said she doesn't really have any power over the casting decisions, and she wouldn't anyways, because she believes in some fake version of free speech where you can promote all kinds of evil and lies that try to destroy people. And that's just absolutely unacceptable. Hopefully, given the fact that she's already kind of changed her mind a little bit on her views on the gender ideology in general. Maybe she'll come to realize that the free speech as licensed that our current culture has widely adopted is a total lie. But we'll see. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, and to always, always speak the truth.
Why would you be afraid of the people? Why are you not afraid of God instead of man?